Welcome to the Reconnecting Roots Behind the Music podcast. My name is Mandy McCauley, your friendly neighborhood music supervisor. Joining me is Gabe McCauley, our TV show host, and my house bandmates, Dillon, Hodges, and Heidi Feek. Together we have conversations about the history and stories behind the songs we feature on our television show and Reconnecting Roots music albums, which you can find anywhere you can find an internet. Please enjoy.
Congratulations, everyone, for making it this far. Welcome to the final episode of the Reconnecting Roots Behind the Music Season 2 podcast, where we've been discussing all things music related to the Reconnecting Roots television series and brand. Right, guys?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is correct.
So we'll dive into the topics, such as we've talked about things like trains and Irish immigrants and Native Americans, religion, travel, and finally today we get to talk about travel. Oh, wait, never mind. This is travel. Yeah. Today we're going to talk about travel. That's why we're here. You've traveled with us on a very long journey, 8 episodes. Congratulations for making it this far. I'm your host, Gabe McCauley, host of the TV series Reconnecting Roots, currently airing on PBS. Go check it out. Go to reconnectingroots.com. And with me today, we have music supervisor Mandy McCauley.
Oh, hi.
And the other half, 2/3 of the house band for Reconnecting Roots, along with Mandy, all the way hailing from Florence, Alabama, firekid.
Hello, I am Dillon.
And I'm Heidi. Hi.
And you are...
firekid. I thought you were going to do it with me.
I thought it would be funny if I left you again.
And you are...
Straight
firekid.
up fire kid.
Straight up firekid, as
Straight
they
up
say.
firekid. And I'd like to just thank everyone for helping me out with this, talking about music, talking about stuff, culture, things that we care about, all things really. Apparently I'm running out of the things I'm supposed to say or talk about. But that's okay because we're on our last episode. So let's just run it all out.
The perfect time to run out of things to say is in the
True.
end.
True.
Yeah.
Say nothing except what can be said.
When you say nothing at all.
That's exactly what I'm going to say. Yeah. So travel, an interesting topic because it's probably one of our more broad topics, although a lot of our topics are quite broad when we talk about things like religion or trains, but travel, it covers just so much. But we wanted to discuss all the ways in which the how we travel, the why we travel as Americans, and how that has changed quite significantly over the last 150, 200 years. From, walking along a footpath that was once created by animals and then Native Americans and then new settlers, right? Using these same paths. And then, of course, as technology and innovation progresses, we start creating bicycles and vehicles, and we're riding on horses and all kinds of things, trains, planes, and automobiles. The way in which Americans get around today is so different from what it used to be. But what we're asking, what we really want to talk about today is, how do you find songs about travel? In particular, public domain songs. Was that a challenge, guys?
This one was more of a challenge.
Yeah, it was.
And I can't remember what we had talked about prior to finding this one or deciding to use this one. Dillon, it looked like you had something to say.
No, not really. I was just going to say, I feel like there was also a hurdle because a lot of the public domain songs are about trains. And so there was an episode already about trains. And so, I think we were like, let's not do 2 train songs. So it was difficult to pick a song, and then there's obviously a personal element in the end that we invested into choosing Wayfaring Stranger. So that's what I was going to say on that.
You know, I thought this was an interesting choice from the very beginning, simply because to me, this song is so associated with religion.
Yep.
Or in particular Christianity. It feels like, if I'm correct, that's how it started. And we already had a song about, we already had an episode on religion. And so it was interesting to me to choose this as a song about travel. Although, you know, as we'll discuss, I'm sure there's plenty of connections to be made. But at the same time, as we've talked about in previous episodes, it's just difficult when you're dealing with public domain options because there's just so few.
Exactly.
Well, but I also would like to add that there are a lot of songs that are popular in the public domain realm are hymns, because that's what we sang to each other for so many years. That's if we got together and sang around a fire, or as a community, we would meet in a church building and we would sing songs. And ultimately, of course, because you're meeting as a community in a church building, you are going to sing songs about hope and peace that is brought by the creator that you are worshiping.
Yeah, and I will say, much like, you know, what we were talking about when we were talking about This Little Light of Mine, there is several levels that a song can live on. One of them is the sort of melody, which is so often, as we've seen in previous episodes, borrowed and appropriated from other cultures or other places, other times, and brought forward. So there's that level, the level of the melody. Then there's the surface level, the said level of the lyric, which can just be appreciated in a superficial sort of way. Beyond that, you have unsaid associations, which are often cultural or religious interpretations of a lyric. And I think that's what we are left with this song, that it has, whether it was written for this purpose or not, the associations with it are primarily religious. But if we were open to another level of interpretation of the song, it could be interpreted just on the lyrical content alone as a traveling song. It could be interpreted more universally and in a sort of on the level of the unsayable, you know, that we're all lost traveling, for some reason, conscious beings wandering the earth. And so maybe that's reaching a little bit, but I think that's why the song worked for the travel episode, is because of if it is open to interpretation, just based on the lyrical content, it can be used to describe travel, because that's what it's saying on a superficial sort of level.
That's definitely what my thought process was when we were working on it, is that it was a song just about being a stranger, having a tough go traveling. But I know the song because Emmylou sang it, and I knew that version since I was a kid.
I knew it as a bluegrass standard, and I didn't really even necessarily know that it had a religious context, because once again, I don't really, I know I said this in a previous episode, but I'm not so always concerned with a lyric. It's very secondary to me, as it can be thrown off, as we see in folk songs, and replaced.
This particular song, similar to Danny Boy, is very popular. I'm sure it's one of the more popular public domain songs. Tell us about the origins.
Well, so this one has multiple theories on where it came from.
All the good ones do.
So let me
That's
read some of our past research on this, and it says that this tune bears a strong resemblance to a Scottish border song called the Dowie. Am I saying that correctly?
Again,
Doughy Dens of Yarrow. Though the subject matter differs greatly, and there's an early 19th century German hymn, and the translation of, I won't even try to say it in German. So the translation is, I am a pilgrim and a stranger. And some think that that's the origin of Wayfaring Stranger. And then some historians have traced its genesis to the 1780s, others to the 1800s, depending on who you're talking to. The song may be reworked as a black spiritual, a lifted native hymn, or even a creation of a nomadic Portuguese settlers hymn from the southern Appalachian region. And then others credit it to this rather unknown people of the Appalachians called the Melungeons. And I was actually talking to
they think Abraham Lincoln may have been one.
A Melungeon?
Yep.
Oh, well, that's interesting because our son's music teacher at school, I was telling her about that, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a Melungeon."
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of this until today.
I have a friend. No, I've looked it up before because I have a friend who's told me that that's where her family came from because her skin tone was very like olive, like tan skin and very blue eyes, and her dad was the same, and she said it was a type of Appalachian people.
Yeah. Well, there you are.
If that's the same
Maybe
thing,
I'm wrong.
I think that's the same
I
thing.
felt like there was something with Abraham Lincoln, like like his height and some other things was associated, and the long drawn face.
And that's
like
not Marfan syndrome.
It could be that as well. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, yeah, with regards to this song and all of that, it coming from multiple places, it just...
Or maybe it was Elvis.
Yeah, Elvis, yes. I've heard Elvis.
Maybe it was Elvis and not Abraham.
I
Who
have on an
knows?
Elvis shirt today. Hunga, burning love.
It just seems like the
Hunka
song
Melungeon.
is claimed by multiple people because something about it is older than all of those. I think that's usually that's usually the answer that I see when multiple cultures adopt the same thing seemingly separate. It's like it isn't, I mean, unless it's some sort of magic psychological thing that takes place, it would be older than all of those things. Or elements of it come from all of those things, which means it
traveled,
which means it has some sort of identity with all of those cultures separately, and it kind of brings them together. And once again, I think it's because there's something in the song that points to something deeper than just a spiritual song or a song about traveling, some sort of surface meaning. I think it's deeper than that.
Maybe an eternal melody.
Well, I do think that's one element of it, but I think even the subject matter of this one points to something
Sure.
about like mortality and consciousness and, being alone in the world, even being loved by someone, but alone in the world because you're alone in your own mind. I don't know. It just seems to, maybe I'm reaching, but I just think that's I think could be a valid interpretation of this song.
I like that interpretation, Dilly.
Thank you.
What about the actual original recording that you guys chose?
I had another version I really liked, but it was not public domain yet. And so I had to really search around to find something. And this is the one we landed on. And I do not have the notes in front of me to credit the singer. And I don't believe these are Lomax recordings, but they could be. There's some speaking in the background. But this is the original version.
It says old time, poor Wayfaring Stranger. So maybe that's just the genre or something.
Yeah. I just wrote that on there.
Yeah, I don't think his name probably isn't Daryl Old Time.
Old time.
No, it's a woman singing, and it's
Oh.
She's has a very, I would almost, if I knew better. I'm not sure, but she sounds very Deep Woods, Kentucky. It's a very nasal throat. She's laying in there in her voice, and it's pretty, for lack of a better word, raw.
Start where you quit. That's all right. I thought you was wanting to. That's all right. Go right ahead and start. I am a four-way-faring stranger. I am a wayfaring stranger. I ain't traveling through this world of woe. There is no sorrow, pain, nor danger in that bright world whereto I go. I'm going there to see my Father, who died and left me dear below. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home. I feel my sins are all forgiven, and sorrow waits my spirit down. My heart is sad and often weary. I long to be released from love. I'm going there where I can find them. I'll give them from the lonely too. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home. This rendition of the old hymn, The Poor Wayfaring Stranger, was made by Mrs. Boyd Hoskins on Horse Creek in Clay County, Kentucky, October the 9th, 1937.
Mama Sauce works with people around the world to bring their print projects to life. They believe print still matters. They specialize in equipment like letterpresses, screen print press, and hot foil presses. They can also handle just about any other specialty finishing on their antique production equipment. That's why we chose Mama Sauce to print our vinyl jackets. And they look hot. You know, like hot sauce. Check out mamas-sauce.com for your print project. That's mamas-sauce.com.
Of all the original recordings, most of them were women in these public domain. It seems like, correct?
Yes.
We've
Not
listened to a lot of them.
necessarily, but we do have a good mix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think the ones you've heard today have been women. Home on the Range is a man.
We need more male representation in music.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
I definitely don't actually feel that way.
This song, it's probably one of those things where when you purchase a car, all of a sudden you see everyone else driving the same car. But I will say this song, as in particular, in contrast to any of the other songs from season 2, I just started hearing it all over the place. And and not just original recordings, but it was newly reimagined versions or covers by, you know, a number of different artists. 1914 or 1917, the movie.
It's funny because I thought it was 1912. I don't even.
Oh yeah,
Which year is it?
The one-shot film.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
In the trailer, they use this a version of this song, and it's great. I mean, it gives you chills when you watch it. It's like such a well done version.
I never saw it. I unfortunately went to see, like, when the family went to see that movie, I went to see Smallfoot or something in theaters at the same time. So I didn't get to hear a cool version of Wayfaring Stranger. But
Well, I don't even know if it's in the actual movie,
Oh,
but it
okay.
is in the trailer.
Well, yeah, because it's in the bluegrass tradition, and which is alive, not a lot, but there's still a big community that plays the traditional songs. It's in that repertoire, so I think that keeps it alive and keeps it in the public consciousness at least a little bit.
I think also the melody of it doesn't sound like whereas the Wabash Cannonball, it sounds like an older melody.
Yeah, it sounds like a tuba would play it or something.
Yeah, but this song is like the melody, I think, can be sung with modern production and sound like a modern song. It's just something about it is pretty timeless to me, in my opinion.
For this one, I don't think the arrangement is particularly modern. I think it's more unique than something that would just be modern for modern's sake. It feels more emotional, which I know was one of those situations where we made the track before the episode was finished. So I think I remember you saying, like, oh, it is a little bit down, it's a little bit dark for the tone that the episode took in the end. Is that right?
This may have been one of them, yes. I mean, standalone, the song is, it's just superb.
Yeah.
But the travel episode probably was one of our more lighthearted episodes.
We needed to bring it down a little bit,
Yeah.
It was too fun.
Yeah, you're right. It was.
But if you listen with the scoring in the show, which George Pauley and Paul Kintzing did, I was going, and I still am kind of going through a Xavier Cugat phase.
We all have one of those phases.
And I said, can you take this song and just throughout score the same, use Wayfaring Stranger, but do it in the style of like Esquivel or Xavier Cugat? And he did, if you listen throughout
I don't think I
scoring
noticed
of the
that.
show.
Okay, cool.
Of that episode.
Which, by the way, we have not taken the opportunity to talk at all about the score outside of the actual music, the songs that are utilized in our show. And because we're on PBS, we have the unique opportunity to use a compulsory license that allows us to put, songs in there without having to worry about the licensing in the same way that if we were on a different broadcast on a different network. So we utilize a lot of great music, very popular music, which is a significant advantage for us as we're on that particular network and platform. But besides the music itself, besides the songs that play at the end and the, as we call them, needle drops, the actual recorded music from, let's say, Michael Jackson or Johnny Cash that like would play throughout the episode, there's score, and there's quite a bit of score that just helps move the episode along. And you guys have had your fingers on that to some extent. Dillon's created little beds of music, and Mandy as well has done some things that interweave within the score. But the primary individuals that are responsible for that are George Pauley and Paul Kintzing, and it's like fantastic.
Yeah.
They do such a good
They do a
job.
great
So
job.
So good.
the ability to even have conversations with them about like, hey, let's utilize this song that we're going to perform at the end and make it sort of thematic throughout the episode, but like do it in this particular way. Let's make it fun. Let's put a twist on that. And so shout out to them.
Very much so.
Yeah, thank you.
They're wonderful. So when we sat down and tried to, first of all, I think that it was just pretty quick that they said, Mandy, you sing this one.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just made sense to all of us. But then Heidi and I sat and started writing the lyrics, and we asked each other, how personal do we want this to get?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all agreed, like, it just made sense to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so Heidi wrote a lyric for the last verse that I was like, you know what? Fine. We'll just cry through this. And that's what we did.
I'm still crying through it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but that's what this song is to anybody who, like, picks this song to perform or to sing to themselves or their loved ones. Is it a raw song that you're missing people that you don't see anymore, and you want that hope to see them again. And that's what this song is for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yet another wonderful universal human interpretation of the images.
It's also, it was just nice to add something a little bit, well, not a little bit, very highly personal in this record, because it isn't really, it's not a firekid record, it's not a Mandy record, but it is us, it is all of us working on it and doing it. And so to add just a little, maybe 2-word change, makes it important to us in our own lives, which I think is
it's
nice.
a show about history, and this is our history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what's so, I don't know, beautiful and terrible about us together is we've all sat through some really hard things together.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
I'm to the point now where I can kind of like forget about it. Like that's I know that we have that in common, but it's not always in the forefront of my mind. But when we were working on this record, it was definitely in the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, it's,
it was closer to the time that all this stuff happened. So
I think people have things happen in their life and they trauma bond, but I mean we've now trauma bonded like quite a few times. So friends forever.
I think it's probably worth elaborating a bit just for the audience. I know it's hard, but just otherwise it comes off as a somewhat elusive conversation.
I see.
Not to get into the weeds too much, but it was, everyone has their stuff. Everyone deals with very hard things, and you don't really know until you can see the other, right? You can have a moment to sit down and be present and have a conversation. And for whatever reason in our lives, we had a lot of death, happen.
That's right.
To and in or around us, all within quite a very short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so for Dillon, his ex-wife was killed tragically, and for Heidi, her stepmom, Joey Feek, passed away from cancer. Very tough journey there. And for us, our daughter passed away. She was born with special needs with a connective tissue disorder. And all of this just happened, sort of almost back to back, year upon year.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
Yeah, it's tough.
I don't know how to, make art in a way that's not a little bit personal. Because the most personal thing that I could think of about myself is maybe the most universal, which is that I was in a relationship that didn't work out, and then, she died. And I think the same, that very specific situation is what connected me so much to Heidi, who shortly after lost her mom. And in the end, when you guys lost Scout, we had the most personal thing about all of us is what we have in common. And so that's part of what art is for, is to sublimate the tragedy of life into something that we can appreciate as an aesthetic phenomenon, as a beauty. It's like, I still don't really understand what the sublime is, but I think it's tied to that primordial melody. It's tied to these universal images, you know, This Little Light of Mine, Wayfaring Stranger. I think everyone can appreciate these songs in their own way, but appreciate them together as something that is meaningful in a almost universal sense.
This would be my favorite song on the album, but also the one I probably listen to the least.
Yeah.
I feel
or
that.
have the hardest time listening to. And Mandy and all of us really, since recording this album. You guys have recorded another album that you're currently releasing.
Mm-hmm.
Mandy has an album that you guys have worked on with her that she is not currently releasing, but should be.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
anytime.
Hopefully will be soon. But a huge part of that particular album is in a very similar way, became very personal. Started recording it and developing it before our daughter Scout passed away, and then finished it after. And I still can't really listen to most of that album. But
I totally understand.
there is something so necessary and good about taking a piece of your grief and humanity and putting it into art to share, and having the bravery to be able to let that go and to release it to the world, so that all of the others who are experiencing similar things, or maybe even not so similar things, but still having a way to connect to that experience, to that grief, to that hope, to that joy.
Should we play the song?
Let's listen to it.
Let's let the song speak for itself.
I'm a poor wayfaring stranger, lost down here below. There's no sickness, no danger in that bright land above. I'm going there to see my daughter. Going there, no more to roam. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going back home. I've seen a shadow gather around me through the path that's rough and steep in golden fields. She'll say she found me, my weary eyes no more shall weep.
As it does so quite well.
It's funny. I'm looking at the plays on Spotify, and it's the least played song on Spotify.
Yeah, by almost a significant margin. But I get it. I mean, it's personal, so
Well, I think that has more to do that maybe with it being the last song on
that's
the
true.
record.
Actually, that's true. Although, like, the one that I would not pick as the best song by any means is the one with almost twice as many plays as the others, which is Red Wing.
It's a fun one.
Yeah.
It is, but this
I
little
would
light
think
of
This
mine,
Little
I
Light
would
of
think
Mine,
would
yeah.
be the one that people would like the most, but it is next to last. And,
I don't know what
and
people
so
like.
it makes me think that maybe because it's at the end of the album, it didn't, it's kind of like Wayfaring Stranger. But-
I love that version of it. I love hearing Mandy sing. We got to perform that before the pandemic started. Wasn't it? Or was it after? I don't know.
It was before.
Yeah, it feels
Before.
like it was a very long time ago. But we did get to perform this song all together on stage. And that was really special.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the production if I can get less emotional and more technical,
Let's go.
if that's okay.
Hey, by the way, and I don't know how to solve this issue. The camcorder just stopped recording. So and it says it's got several hard drives in it, and it says that they're full. So I don't know what to do, but
I'm sorry.
Okay.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
Can you don't have any other cards? You couldn't start it on the other cameras or anything like that?
Can't, no.
Okay, that's all right.
I'm sorry. We got most of it today though.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really help.
That's good.
Most of it isn't that useful.
Maybe you could just like add a
no,
picture of
that's
us
good.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
Something that was a choice that was made was to change the time signature of the song. Do you remember this? Instead, I don't know what the normal time signature is, but I think we went. I can't even remember now, but
I think they're both in 4/4, but it's definitely got a different swing to it. It's definitely like the meter's totally different. It's still in 4/4,
yeah, I had to
but
reteach myself the meter of what I needed to sing.
yeah. It's
But
the
I
original
think it
is
added to it.
swung, and this is not swung.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And I
it's
like
straight
how
fours.
the track breathes. You give space.
Totally. This one is mostly guitar, but we did, it's got a guitar solo in it as well, but it does have, a drum drop on it with some heavy bass, but it was like a break beat. Actually, it wasn't a break beat. I think Willie programmed the drums on this one, which I don't think he did on really any of the other ones. So he used just some standard like battery drum samples or something like that, and acoustic guitar, and then I think a Moog Sub 37 bass.
Besides, you made a couple lyrical changes. Besides that, what other differentiations were made between the originals and this song?
It's darker. The original goes to 1 on the I'm going there back to see my. Normally they go to a 1 there. We went to the 6 to keep it minor, which has a surprisingly like doubly negative effect as far as like the energy. It's like makes it darker, makes it more broody.
Kind of felt a little spooky to me. I liked that
Yeah,
about
it does. With the, it's got
Spooky's
that
a
vocal
compliment.
sample that's like and we also put like organs in it, which were mellotron organs. But to create a kind of tension, a kind of like to even make it a little bit more broody, dark sounding. And I never really second guessed it. I never thought like, oh, is this too dark? It was like, no,
It just felt right.
let's just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. In both of these tracks, both of you gave me a lot of direction because we all have our own fallbacks on how our styles are. And for This Little Light, I would lean towards bending my notes and maybe making more runs. And you guys said, no, lay off that.
You did a little bit
Make
on
this simple.
Wayfaring Stranger.
Yeah.
Which I liked. You know, with This Little Light of Mine, it was like, no, Mandy, I need you to sing bad, intentionally bad. But this one, it was a little bit of restraint, you know, just making you sing a little bit more legato than you wanted to. But you did do some cool bendy things later in the song, which I really liked. You know, they were in the demos even, and we didn't do them. So I think we scheduled an extra day to get you to come back in and do some bendy stuff.
Yeah. I remember you saying, oh, that sounds more Carter Family.
Totally. Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I know those are magic words for you guys.
Yeah, it was
buzzwords for
it's
sure.
Really, it sounded more
Yeah.
Ralph Stanley to me. Of course, the Carter Family does that stuff too, but the way you did it specifically reminded me of like the kind of, and you did it intentionally, but he does this kind of stuff accidentally where he bends his notes and he'll go the long way around. He'll take the scenic route to get to the note that he needs to get to.
Yeah.
And somehow it just works, and you did that on this song.
Anything you guys want to say to wrap out this episode? Maybe something slightly hopeful or positive?
Yeah, well, I'd say that I think it's kind of funny that your lighthearted episode, the travel episode, we brought down with a real personal and serious, song. But to me, I think it worked, and I like the direction that we took on this song. It feels once again like trying to find a unique version of a song that's been recorded a bunch of times is hard to do. And I don't think anyone would question that we did that here as well with Wayfaring Stranger.
And I would also say that, like, even travel, like, I think about the people who first started coming over to America, and I can't fathom how difficult that friggin' boat ride would have been. Like, nightmare. And then to come here and like have to build your own house.
Gabe asked for something lighthearted, an up note. You're
Hold
like,
on.
everyone died in the cold,
on.
and it was.
Hold on, let me finish, Dillon. So there's all of this
I'm gonna let you
stuff
finish.
that's so hard, but something. I mean, you can call it insanity, maybe, or you could call it, optimism. Brought them over here for whatever reason, whether it be religion or gold in Virginia.
No, dude,
or
it's just stories.
Yeah.
Like these stories that people heard and they believed them,
Yeah, but I
Tall
mean,
tales.
all that to say, like, light and dark, you need, it's in life, you have these really hard experiences and then you have the really beautiful experiences, and you have to have them both, because that's what life is. And with your travel episode, it's so fun to travel and to go explore and I guess find a new land to go live in. But also there's some hard facts that come into play with that explorative excitement. You also have to travel on a boat for like forever. I mean,
Not anymore, but.
yeah, but back then.
And that's uplifting.
Is that good?
Oh,
It
yeah.
was not uplifting.
Oh, dang it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
everybody lived happily ever after.
Well, here's what I know. You guys have made a fantastic album that you should be very proud of.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reconnecting Roots House Band.
Thank you. And I'm so happy to work with my friends that I've sat with in good and bads.
We're happy to be here.
Let's do it
always.
again on season 3
Yeah, let's
of
do it.
Reconnecting Roots.
Get your vinyl today.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
We did it.
Good job.
Good job, team. You can visit reconnectingroots.com to buy our Season 2 vinyl. Side A has the old-timey recordings, and Side B has our reimagined versions of the same songs. You can also find out how to watch our show on real live TV or on the internets at reconnectingroots.com. Thanks for listening. And I guess to make it look like we have meaning in this world, you could like and subscribe or leave nice reviews wherever you're listening to this podcast. Apparently right now, that's what success is supposed to look like. You know what? Make your own choices. Maybe go outside and experience nature. Look a human in the eye and have a conversation. Like and subscribe to humans in front of your face. Invest in them the way we all invested in Bitcoin in 2021. Except your currency is your time and love. Go do that. Go out and love. That sounds better. Okay, see you next time. Bye.